Okay, so in this video, we're going to understand a bit more about Copilot Chat, what it allows us to do, and why it's actually quite useful. So right now in our screen, you can see that there is this interface whereby you've got this chat and CoWork, and in the side, you've got these agents, some of which are pre-built. And then you've got your previous chat history. Obviously, you can see I've been exploring the British history as an example, and this is just very similar to how almost all other NLP sort of chat interfaces work. Now, why this is quite interesting is because actually here, you can add work content. So for instance, you can add into your context window a bit more around what you're doing, who you are, what you're trying to do, or you can even add certain capabilities. For instance, you can add a research agent or an analyze data capability. So this is a little bit more focused on your work interface, and it allows you, if you have this work IQ switched on, to actually integrate with your existing work environment, so Microsoft can know what's going on in your organization, how you operate, and basically a bit more about you as a person. Why this is really useful? Well, basically you are in a position to create things that allow you to optimize how you work within the Microsoft domain. So we're just going to go over and see what this is showing us. Now you can see that there's this toggle for new design. That then just allows us to see the new interface, which looks unlike this. This is the old interface, and this is the new interface. Somewhat a little bit more sleeker, but again, it very much depends on when you are viewing this video, because it's likely by then everyone will have this new interface. You can see here that there is this enterprise data protection, which is basically just letting you know that your admin or IT department have signed you up for the data policies of your organization. That still means that you have to be careful as to what you input into this context window. For instance, if a client has requested that you don't input chat information about their organization or about their types of projects, then that still is not something that Copilot can distinguish between. So you have to be careful and cognizant of that. You also have the ability to have temporary chat. Now what this means is that this will not be stored in your chat history here, but it still will stay on your organization's server for as long as the organization's retention policy is. Now, this is just something to be aware of, because a lot of people think that once you put something into the temporary chat, it will not stay anywhere. That's obviously not the case, and this is just, again, something to have sight of, but it's not to scale. I'm just going to come out of temporary chat, and you can see that that has removed the temporary chat messaging here. Now, over here, you can also see that there is chat settings. Now this is where it gets really interesting, because you can choose, first of all, your different appearances. So you can have light, you can have dark. I personally just like to use the system settings, which means that after a certain time that those settings will move to the dark version. There is also data controller, whereby you can share certain prompts across your organization or with others. Again, this is quite useful, but this is just something to think through, because not everyone needs to have access to all of your prompts. There's a level of personalization, because you can edit your information. So for instance, here I've told it very explicitly that I like things to be honest and clear. I avoid flowery language and do not sound like AI. Also, a preference to keep everything in the UK language. This just means everything coming back to me has this put through, and made sure that all the output from all the chat inputs are aligning with these instructions. Here you can see that they have put in some prompts. So for instance, if I click this, it will also add in, when summarizing content, use bullet points. You can add in the use emojis. I personally will use this and then do not include emojis. And I'm just going to get rid of this. So hopefully this can give you some an explanation as to how to add custom instructions to personalize it. If you hit save, that will then be stored in your own environment. So going back, this will be stored against how you like your chat to interact with you. You've got the ability to show toast notifications. Essentially, that will be a small little modal that shows up in the corner at the bottom, just to tell you a bit more around what you've done, whether you've had an error or something like that. Again, with the agents, this is once you've created them, this is how you can manage what they have access to. Right now we haven't created one, That is why we don't have anything to amend over here. And your sources, this is where it's, again, very interesting to know. Any third-party sources can be highlighted here. For instance, you may have a Canva account, you may have a Google Calendar or Granola, which you've kind of using for managing your day or your personal calendars, and you can connect to those and allow for the chat settings to interact, and so it is aware of that context. We'll come on to how we actually add these context windows and these MCP servers, which stands for Model Context Protocol, but this is just first an overview of all the screens so that everyone is on the same page. Now you can see here that there is also, next to this Work IQ button, there is this option to choose between different models, and often I just let it be at auto, and what this means is that it will auto select the model depending on the type of input. However, there are points where I know I want a deep response whereby it's thought through things. I want to see how it's got to those answers, and for that reason I will sometimes just toggle it to deeper thinking, or maybe go in here and select this model here. Now, what you have also, you have this library which goes through everything that you have created. As you can see, I was just creating some infographics, which was an output, and this has stored all of those outputs. You can see also the ability to search your chat. Again, that's a great thing if you've spoken or input something in previously and now you just want to get it back. This is again a really useful way of doing that. And also you'll see at the bottom, you have all these different settings that you can use, which was also gotten from this point up here. You can download the desktop app and you can download the mobile app so that it's all connected and it will share the context window across all of those platforms. So hopefully this has given you a bit of an overview of what the chat Copilot looks like, and in the next video we'll go on to actually using it and understanding how we can chat with our documents and what this means.